Alright, so in this video we're going to go over the trig portion. So we're going to start with trig over here and work our way through the video. So the first few problems are trigonometry related. We'll go through how to do those problems in case you got stuck on one. So basically you should probably try the problem first, and then if you get stuck, go ahead, watch the audio, or watch and listen, and figure out if you got it correct or not. Alright, so first problem, we are standing 35 feet away, so standing 35 feet away from a building, looking up at your friend Jim, and he is 65 feet above the ground. In the end, we are trying to find what the angle of elevation is. So, this is one of those problems where you need to draw it out. So we have you standing over here. You are 35 feet away from the building. And your friend Jim is in the building, up here somewhere. So that's Jim. And you're looking up at Jim. So we're going to assume that you're looking up from the ground. We need to find this angle of elevation here. So this is our theta. We know the building is 65 feet tall. So this is one of those problems where you're using the good old SOHCAHTOA. We got to figure out what we have in reference to this angle. Well, this part is your opposite side of the angle, and this one's the one next to it. That's not the hypotenuse, so that's your adjacent. So we have opposite adjacent. That means we have a TOA case. So tangent of theta equals the opposite 65 over 35. Now remember, to find an angle, we use inverses. So we're going to take tan inverse of both sides. So tangent inverse, and we're going to take tangent inverse. So now we have theta equals tangent inverse of 65 over 35. Now, remember, your calculator needs to be in degrees when you do these problems. So if you don't remember, in your calculator you want to hit mode and make sure degrees is highlighted. So see how degree is highlighted? If it's not, arrow over it, press enter, and it'll highlight it. Alright, so we need tan inverse. That's second tangent. 65 divided by 35. We end up with 61.69. Didn't tell me where to round. I'm going to go to the 10th place. 61.7 degrees. And that is our answer. We found the angle. Alright, find a positive and negative coterminal angle. Well, coterminal, that means add or subtract 360 degrees. We need to find a positive and a negative, so take 100, subtract 360, so 100, subtract 360, we get negative 260 degrees. So that's a negative answer. Now let's take 100, let's add 360 to it. 460 degrees. That's a positive angle, so we have our answers. Alright, third type of problem. If 512 is a point on the terminal side of an angle in standard position, find the 6 trig ratios for the angle. Well, if we have a point, we probably need coordinates. So let's draw a little coordinate grid. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually going to need more than that, so I'm just going to not draw the coordinates. Let's say I need to go 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to go, so I went 5 this way. And I need to go down 12, so I'm going to make that somewhere down there. I'm going to connect and make that triangle. Right? so now we have theta here, make our right angle, and we have a 512. Hopefully you're screaming at me right now saying 13. Remember, the hypotenuse is always positive. So I found that 13 there. So 5, 12, 13, and it says find the 6 trig ratios. We need to remember them all. Sine, cosine, tangent, and the reciprocals. Hopefully you remember these. If not, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So sine, opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite negative 12, hypotenuse 13. So that's negative 12 over 13. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent to the angle is 5, hypotenuse 13. So 5 over 13. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Opposite is going to be negative 12, adjacent 5, so negative 12 over 5. Well, how do I get from these to those? The easiest way is just to flip. So we end up with 13 over 12, doesn't matter where the negative goes. 13 over 5, there's no negative. 5 over 12, doesn't matter where the negative goes. And those are your 6 trig ratios. We wanted the ratios, we don't want the angles, just the ratio. Alright, here's the difficult problem. Solve the equation. So let's just do that first. Cosine theta equals 0.75. Well, how do I solve it? I want to solve for theta. So to get an angle, again, go back up here. To find an angle, we use inverses. So inverse, cosine inverse, cosine inverse. We have theta equal to cosine inverse 0.75. So in our calculator, we're going to do second cosine, and we had, what was it, 0.75. Again, we get kind of a decimal, so 41.4. But now it says find a second solution between 0 and 360. That's where you have to remember you're always study trig carefully, or your ASTC sign chart. ASTC. So remember, this stands for all ratios are positive. Sine is positive. Tangent is the only positive one. And cosine is positive. So we're trying to think about here, we had cosine in the beginning, and it was positive. So where is cosine positive? Well, cosine is it's considered one of all the ratios, so it's positive there, and it's where cosine is positive. So that's quadrants 1 and 4. So I need an answer in quadrant 1, and an answer in quadrant 4. Well, 41 degrees is in quadrant 1. I need the one in 4. So I'm going to go 41 degrees below the axis. So this is going to be 41.4. Well, how do I find that? 360, subtract the 41.4 degrees. And we end up with 318.6 degrees. So one answer and another answer, they are both between 0 and 360. Alright, only a few more problems here. Actually, one more. So we've got find the 6 trig ratios. So again, we've got sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and finally cotangent. But what's missing here? We're missing the third side. how do you find it? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's call it A plus 6 squared equals 13 squared. That needs to look more like a 6 than a B. Alright. So A squared equals 169 minus 36. So A is going to actually equal the square root of 133. So over here we've got the square root of 133. Yeah, it's a big number, can't reduce. Oh well. Alright, opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite hypotenuse, so square root 133 over 13. Nothing I gotta do there. Adjacent over hypotenuse, 6 over 13. Keeping it simple still. Tangent. Opposite over hypotenuse, so square root of 133 over 6. Again, everything's simplified, we're good. Cosecant, again, to get from here to here, just flip. So now I've got 13 over the square root of 133. Well, now I need to rationalize. So multiply top and bottom by square root of 133. We get 13 square root 133 over 133. Alright, flip 13 over 6. I'm glad that one doesn't have to be rationalized. And cotangent, we're going to have to rationalize. Darn. 133, 133, 6 square root 133 over 133. So we've got 3 ratios there, 1 ratio there, 1 here, and our last one there. So that is our review for trig.